Do you want an offer strategy with potentially no competition? That's what I'm going to tell you all about today. This is Shaheedah Hill, getting you over the hill to home ownership and helping you confidently buy your first home. If you are getting super frustrated with multiple offers, the competition, the amount of people competing for the few properties on the market, I want to give you a different idea that potentially will leave you in a new home with no competition. It is off-market properties. Now, what is an off-market property? An off-market property is one that's not listed in the MLS system, the multiple list service that are in most communities, where an agent gets a listing and then they put it online for other agents to see. So it's broadcast on Zillow and Realtor.com and all of that. Now, how do you find an off-market property? I'm going to tell you 3 ways to find an off-market property. So number 1 is other agents. So if you have a real estate agent, often what will happen in the real estate market, we're in groups. So we may be in Facebook groups together, the brokerage might be in a group together, and just agents that you have relationships with over the years. So if you have an agent that's been in the business for a little while, they probably have a lot of relationships. And often what will happen is one of their former clients may say, I'm interested in selling my house. I'm not sure exactly where I want to go yet, but if you find somebody who's interested in buying, I'm interested in selling. So that becomes what they call a pocket listing, potentially, where that agent is the only person that really knows that that person wants to sell. It's not, broadcast like on the MLS. So that agent with the pocket listing may go to their other agents and say, hey, I have somebody that wants to buy at 123 Main, or wants to sell at 123 Main Street. If you have a buyer, other agents, please let me know. So it's very important, that one way, that if you're dealing with an agent, to try to find you an off-market property that's not listed yet. And then a lot of people, you'll be surprised, a lot of sellers do not want people in their homes. They want some kind of privacy. Some sellers don't even want a sign in their yard. They don't want the neighbors to know their business. They don't want their whole house on Realtor.com, on Zillow. So a lot of them they would like or prefer an off-market property or off-market buyer, and to sell their property off-market. So the one way that you're going to find that is by your agent reaching out to other agents to see if they have some of these off-market or pocket listings. So that's number 1. Number 2 is farming a neighborhood. And I've said this in another video, but it's very, very important that you listen up to this. Now, there are a lot of what they call iBuyers that are offering to buy homes for cash. And that, again, even though they're offering to buy it for cash and then they're going to put it back on the market in most cases, that is very appealing to a lot of sellers, because they don't have to deal with putting their home on the market again. They don't have to deal with people coming to their house, cleaning it up so much, that sort of thing. So the same way those types of offers from Open Door or OfferPad or Zillow are attractive to sellers, your offer can also be attractive to sellers. And a lot of those people are coming in under market, and you could come in at market price. Now, how do you find these sellers that don't have their homes listed yet, but for the right number, they will sell? There's 2 primary ways. You mail to them. So you mail to them, and a lot of times, so say that you put an offer on a house in a neighborhood and you didn't get that house. You can tell your agent, I really want to be in this neighborhood. Do you mind farming it for me, and see if any other homeowner is interested in selling that may not have their home on the market yet. And then that letter would sound something like this. My client just missed out on 253 Union Avenue, right? and they are really interested. It was a multiple offer situation. They're interested in buying your home. If you have any interest in selling, please contact me. So that's one way for you to get those sellers that are not on the market yet, those off-market properties, and there's no competition, because they can call you and say, yes, we are interested in selling. We do see that blah, blah, blah's house went under contract very quickly. We're interested in selling. Sometimes they may not know where they're moving yet. We're interested in selling, but we don't want to sell now, but we're interested in selling by September or something like that. So that's a prime opportunity for you to get in without having to be in competition with other people. But I would say this, if you're dealing with a real estate agent, if I had a client that wanted to farm a neighborhood, they really need to know what neighborhood they want to be in, because then you're spending a lot of money. So if, say the net is very wide, I would be spending a lot of money on mail outs to see if a seller wants to sell their house. So for a client, if you're a client and you have an agent, you really want to hone it into one particular neighborhood, one particular area. And as agents, we have in our MLS system, in our data, we know how much that person owes on that house. We know how much equity they have in that house. We know how long they've lived there. We know if it's an investor a lot of times that owns it, or if it's owner occupied. So there's a lot of information that we have. So if you want to be in that neighborhood, and I'm going to look at people that have lived in that neighborhood for 5, 6, 7 years and how much equity they have to see if they would be willing to sell that property. So we could really use the data to get the people that are most likely to sell. And a lot of times in most neighborhoods, they have similar floor plans. So if you missed out on one house, there's probably other homes in that same neighborhood with very similar floor plans. So you can just mail those people that have those similar floor plans. And so one way is to mail to them. And I would suggest a handwritten letter, and handwritten, addressed on the outside as well, because the potential of them opening it, if it's handwritten, is very, very high. And a lot of times you almost want to make it look like a wedding invitation. So maybe a linen, envelope, maybe a card. You don't want to make it look like junk mail. You want to make it look like something that is important. And a lot of people, because they don't get handwritten mail that often, are more likely to open it if it's hand addressed, it has a stamp on it, and it kind of looks of some importance. Okay, so you don't want to have like real estate agent or anything like that in the return address area either. So that's the number 2 goes together. Number 2, farming a neighborhood by mailing. The other one is door knocking, and this is a little bit more aggressive in my opinion, and some people are not going to be that open to this, but it does work sometimes. So you would actually knock on the door and you would ask the same kind of thing you would say in the letter. My client's interested in this neighborhood. Do you have any plans or any, would you be interested in selling now or in the near future? So people can door knock neighborhoods. Your agent can door knock neighborhoods for you. So it's a little bit more difficult because a lot of neighborhoods have no soliciting and that sort of thing, and people are much less open to that. So if it was me, I would rather do the mailing than do the door knocking. But in some communities and some agents, they are very heavy on door knocking as a strategy. Number 3 is circle dialing. Number 3 is circle dialing, and that basically means that you're going to call people in a certain radius. So it may not be as honed in as the neighborhood, but say that you had that house and you were going to go outside in like the perimeter of that house in a certain radius. Say you said, I'm going to call, homes in a half-mile radius. And this is good. So say the elementary school you want your children to be in, the high school that you want your children to be in, then you would say, okay, I want to call in a radius around this property to see if anybody would be interested in selling their home. And there are companies that give you these phone numbers and give your agents these phone numbers, kind of like during the election, if you got any robocalls, kind of similar to that. but you could leave your own message, and it would say the same thing you were saying in a letter, but it would go to their home phone or their cell phone, and it would say, I have a client that's interested in moving to your neighborhood. If you had any thoughts of selling, please give me a call. They just missed out on 123 Union Avenue. So you want to be, it's very specific, and that's what a lot of people are doing to help their clients find properties. But remember this, it has to be in an area that you know where you want to live. Because if somebody tells me in Atlanta right now, I want you to do this for me, I want you to find me an off-market property, but I don't know if I want to live in this county or this city, it would have to be very, very specific, because you're going to have the most success the more specific you are. But it's definitely, some agents have totally moved off of the MLS system, and they're just farming and finding those off-market properties for their clients. So it's something that it does take a lot of work, but again, if you're honed in and you know that neighborhood, you know where you want to live, it's definitely worth a try. I hope this was helpful. Please like and subscribe to my channel for new videos every week.